Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 128. I hope you're all wearing the obligatory green. That seems to be the thing today. But, hey, it's all right. No worries if not. But for some reason, Curtis and I always seem to subconsciously coordinate our our wardrobes. But that's neither here nor there. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And today we're talking the SP404, one of my favorite things to talk about. 5 tips, or 5 of the best tips I've found as an SP404 user to make beats with it, because a lot of times it's used for live performance or sound design and things like that. But making beats with it, a lot of people do it. It's totally possible, but it does kind of have a stigma around it. So we're going to talk some ways you can maximize it to its full potential with things like sound generator and TR rec mode and all that kind of stuff. Then we're going to talk. Curtis brought this one to the table because we all know I'm not, at the moment, an Ableton user. But this is Video Sync 2 launching for Ableton Live. So it allows you, it sounds like, to treat video as audio inside Ableton. But Mike, one of our patrons in the chat, says there's also, I guess, another type, Zwobot. So Mike can tell us about that as well. But Curtis will enlighten us on what this Video Sync 2 is. My name is Sunwarper. With me today, of course, is my Audionautic co-pilot of 4 years, Curtis. What's going on?
4 years and a week, brother. It's all good. Yeah, very good.
I mean, 4 years in a week. Sure. I was just, you round down at that point, I think, to 4 years.
It's fine. I wasn't saying anything other than I'm just excited about how long it's been going on for, and I take every single moment that I can. It's good, brother. It's been catching the last little bit of summer, same as Josh seems to be in the chat. Hey, Shady. It's lovely to see you. Very much been taking the last of the summer sun, engineering out in the open, getting my feet in the ground and behind a sound desk and grounding at the same time. It's always been fun. Teching in summer is always a lot of fun, I think. Just running around, reeling cables everywhere. It's great fun,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah. How about you? What have you been doing? What's been going down? I mean, I saw you Monday, but how are you doing?
Not sleeping. That's what I've been doing. I don't know. I think this heat's getting to me, man. I wake up at like 4:30 a.m. and just can't go back to sleep.
I get that.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Just trying to figure out how I can sleep. And then the release, obviously. So that's been cool. Got Golden Hour out. So it was an interesting process with that one because it came together quickly. One of it was just a live stream I made using just sound generator to create a full ambient track, and that one seems to really be resonating with everybody. Like, I keep hearing people talking about that song, and it's awesome because that one, I think, actually being the B-side, that's my favorite, the ambient one. I really liked making that one. But both of these tracks had very interesting workflows, and the whole goal was to kind of like figure out how I could use just the SP without a DAW or anything like that while making the tracks. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's great. I mean, it's been a really nice release. It's been spinning in the back of my head for the majority of the weekend as it goes.
Nice. Yeah.
You have done really well with it, and it is a continuing. As someone who's closely involved in your process and your journey, it's just another one where we've gone, that's awesome. So from one brother to another,
thanks.
Congratulations on the release.
Yeah, thanks, man. I don't know when the next release will be. This one came out. We just kind of were like, we got an open slot. This one's done like a week beforehand. Let's just do it. And, we did a little vinyl thing to test out stuff. But that's a whole other thing with the issues going on with physical merch for independent musicians in general, which I think is something we need to talk about in a future episode. There's been some massive changes to the landscape in a pretty negative way with creating physical releases. So that's something we're going to talk about in the future. But that's been an interesting thing to navigate, kind of finding the best course of action when there's really no good solution. Independent shipping's just like ridiculously crazy right now. And then one of the only print on demand, if not the only print on demand creator of physical CDs and vinyls, was like, we're no longer shipping internationally. Just no warning. Just they put a little note, no email, nothing. They just put a notice on their website. We no longer ship internationally for the time being, was the little clause they put. And as a label, that's not what you need.
It has thrown us through a loop, and we have spent the latter half of the week scrabbling around trying to work out what we're going to do. We will bring this to the table, I think, officially in the next week or two. I think it's definitely worth discussing. It's true. We had this release of Golden Hour. It's what we call a pocket release, as in, we haven't had it scheduled for a year or so. We saw it. Sunwarper brought it to the table. It was like, yeah, we have time. Let's just put it in quick and like a guerrilla release, so to speak.
Yeah.
All at the same time that this was all happening, and it has been chaotic to say the least. It's never a dull moment running Audionautic.
But we make it work. We make it work. Really quickly though, I want to say hello to all of our other patrons and friends in the chat. We've got Abby. How are you? I was gonna ask, but it looks like Curtis already did. About Abby in the patron chat on the Discord was having some issues with I think it was Spitfire Labs, right? Yeah, there were some issues in Logic, which I haven't tried it. I don't know what the issue was. I didn't get to check it out. Sorry, Abby. It's been absolutely crazy here, but keep us posted what's going on. I'll take a look later on the Discord what the issue was you were having. And then Smiling Errors, what's going on? Smiling Errors, I can't seem to share it. There it is. It says you need a box of grass for under your desk for you, Curtis. And also Survey Channel is here. What's going on, Survey Channel? Welcome. Good to see you.
There he is.
Yeah.
Very much. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the show when it comes through. How you been doing? Where you been going? Tell us what you've been up to. Josh has just come back from summer. Sounds like it was a dope summer, which means that he's going back. Maybe we might see some more more music coming out there soon. Just to bring it back to Abby for a second. I hope you don't mind us sharing, Abby. I've got it here. There is usually the app is standalone and it can run outside of Logic. But however, when they're running it, it runs as a plugin. It immediately claims no internet access, which begs the question: is Labs no longer usable offline? That's the question in the Discord. If anyone knows what can do there and can help Abby out, either put it here or go onto our Discord link. I have put in the description below today, so you can go and follow that link, or just go and help them out. It's a big one. More thing. Spitfire Labs is huge.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I also want to say, with Survey Channel being there, we said 4 years. 4 years ago, one of our first, I think it might have been the first one we actually filmed, but not the first one we released. But one of our first interviews and just first podcast in general was interviewing Survey Channel about his gear, his workflow, all that type of stuff. And it's been 4 years. A lot has changed. We're actually talking with Survey Channel. We're just trying to figure out the date, but we're actually going to have him back on to talk all the changes in gear and all that stuff. He actually posted a work in progress on the Discord with some really interesting new workflow things and stuff to the track. Very cool track, by the way, Survey Channel. But I'm very excited to kind of just come back to one of like the earliest phases of Audionautic, but see how much has changed in 4 years and all that type of stuff. I mean, Survey Channel's been there from the start, so it's just interesting, to hear from one of the earliest members of the community how much can change in 4 years, like all that type of stuff. Thomas, one of our patrons, is also in the chat. Still head. It's just a little guy saying night to my boys before I can tune in 100%. That is much more important. Go ahead, do that. We'll see you later.
Through. Just to come back to Survey Channel for a sec, if anyone is watching and can see the bottom right-hand corner, that is our original Audionautic logo. Just to prove how long Survey Channel's been with us, that's his logo that he designed for us back in the day. That's right. We'll always be grateful for that. So it'd be good to get him back on the show.
We need to throw that into the logo branding, because we have our Spaceman, but it wouldn't be bad to have a little retro throwback that we can pop up. Instead of StreamYard Lake, who, by the way, Jan Lake unfortunately can't be here. Work is a lot for him at the moment, so we can throw up StreamYard Lake when we need, him, or I can find a picture to put up.
Bless his cotton socks. He said maybe I'll join late, and we were just like, dude, if you're flat out at work, go play music when you're done. Just don't. It's fine. It's all right. Go be for yourself. It's all good. So he'll be back next week, hopefully. We'll see.
By the way, he posted late because he's been very busy, but he posted a sample challenge. Everybody should go check it out for the last sample challenge that we did.
Yes. It was dope. Dope as hell.
Yeah,
I mean,
really cool.
you don't expect anything else from Eon Lake. You just know it's going to be dope.
Yeah,
it is dope. Go to the Discord. It's an early plug for the Discord this week.
Yeah, a couple times. But anyways, let's move on. Everybody, let us know what you've been up to. If you've been doing anything musical, or even if not, what you've been up to. It's always great to hear from everybody. I know we talk in the Discord, but nice to hear it live. And everybody's week. But Curtis, you brought this video sync to the table. So what's going on?
Well, this is an interesting little tidbit of information that Ableton themselves put out now, and I've personally been looking at trying to bring more visual stuff into Ableton, and you can make video stuff in Ableton, which is really good. But this just popped up. It looked really cool. It looked trippy as hell, so I thought I'd bring it to the table. Basically, this is Video Sync 2. This is the second iteration of Video Sync, obviously. But now one of the most important things is now available for Windows, whereas previously it would only ever been available to us on Mac. And it basically, so this is nice in its own regard. And basically, the elevator pitch is Video Sync enables you to treat video as audio inside Ableton Live, bringing you visuals to life with warp markers, racks, macros, simpler automation, modulation, and much more. It looks really interesting from the offset. I think it would be worth just playing a little segment of this video that they've put here. Just 30 seconds or so you can kind of get an idea of what it is, and then I'll go into the parameters of it all. So if I give you this, that's cool. Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go for it. I'll do enough for now because we don't get struck with copyright or anything like that. But from the offset, you can see it looks like it does a wonderful job of, you can import your audio into something, and then completely warp the bejeebers out of it, and treat it in automation in the same way that you would treat automation across anything else. Looks really dope. Looks really interesting. It's basically combines a generator and effects that uses algorithms to create organic, natural-looking visuals. The entire plugin has been extensively updated with improved devices, which allows for a very user-friendly experience. Now, if you are an Ableton user, you can see that it's very conducive to the way that Ableton kind of does its thing and how it looks, everything like that. If I bring up this, for example, you can see Lava.
It's no longer shared. You got to share the screen. Present again. Yeah, there we go.
So for example, this looks very similar to every Max for Live device that you would see, and looks very similar and very conducive to the Ableton workflow in that regard, which is really nice. Where are my notes? Here we are. And basically, it looks an extensive way in which to bring visuals into the music making process and essentially create really interesting, really trippy visuals which go along with the music and reactive to the music in which you have. I share what Survey Channel is saying about the performance of it and how it would rig. I imagine it would need a lot of computer power in order to get it done. And here at Audionautic, we're always concerned about what you can do with computer power. But it looks like a really interesting way of creating and taking your musical compositions to one step further. As you can see, as we're coming down here, you have it comes into arrangement view, where you can blend different RGBs and everything with the sound and create absolutely stunning looking effects with everything that you've got here, along with triggering in session view at the same time. There's a lot here. This is a first look. It's $190, I believe, at the bottom here. Here we go. The intro is $80, and Video Sync itself is $200 or 200 euros in that regard. So it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap.
Yeah.
But I wonder, you can try it for free. So I think it might be something worth having a look into for a little trial run or something.
Yeah, have a
like
tinker
that.
with that. That does look really interesting. Price is a lot.
Well, it's eye-watering.
But I mean, that's just seeing the price, not thinking like everything it can do and stuff. But I think what it does is really cool. I'd be curious. Mike said Zwobot is audio reactive max for live devices, but they stepped away, so I don't know if he's back yet. But I'm curious from what we've shown and what we've first reaction to it. I'd be curious to hear how they compare in terms of capabilities, but also price. Because I swear before we went live that you said, Curtis, that Zwobot was free. Was that right, or am I tripping?
Well, I don't know if you're tripping.
I know you looked it up quick because you didn't know of Zwobot, but okay, maybe I'm wrong. I could have sworn you said free, but
I think you can. It looks here like you buy add-ons essentially.
Oh, okay.
And modules.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a Gumroad thing. Gotcha. You do purchase it. Let's have a look. I'll keep searching as we go. $69.
So maybe it's not free
for the Zwobot suite. 69.
69.
Great number. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
lot nicer.
$199, but I'd be curious the capability difference. One could be a lot more capable at doing a lot of things. Yeah, I was gonna say when I showed the visuals, I was like, that looks right up Survey Channel and Lars's alley. Like, right, that's both of their like visual kind of stuff. I can see them doing. I know Lars probably would never touch Ableton. Just mentioning it might make him fume, but but I think that it looks really cool. As someone that does a lot of video, and you do as well, I think that would be really sick. Yeah, could be quite promising.
Definitely, and it's nice to see more of these come on the market, or be a little bit more accessible. There's a couple I've toyed with before where getting it through, because it's either like through third party or it's like an unofficial Max for Live device, it can get a bit clunky and it can get difficult, and you have to really, it's a real fight tooth and nail to get it installed properly and get it done. Now, maybe that's just my experience as a space monkey. It might be a little bit different in that regard, but the idea that this was coined by Ableton itself, which gives credence to it, and it means that essentially more of this stuff is becoming more mainstream. Now, the visual aspect to what we do is incredibly important, especially as a lot of what we're doing is just on the table, and a lot of what can't be seen. It's like we're rocking out at a gig or anything like that. So to bring something like this and make it more accessible to a degree, I think that's a really nice kind of progression in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too, because you look now and like we make our music in a DAW and then we go to a video editor typically to do the video editing. Now, I don't know if this has much application in terms of like the YouTube videos I would make, but for music videos, it seems like it would be very, very useful for, doing sorts of things with that, or making music in sync with video and doing type of manipulation to the video and stuff. But I think seeing this kind of compartmentalization of like being able to create and then do things with the video at the same time in the same piece of software is really cool. That's very promising. That is like, okay, now it's not this two-step approach where I finished the track. Now I got to do everything all over, but with the visuals. And then, if I want to change stuff, go back into the DAW, come back to the editor, like that seems really cool that it's all right there. And I know Logic has video capabilities. I haven't really messed with it as much. I know you can sync it to like the thing and create music underneath it and all that. I've done that before, but I've never seen if it's got like video editing and manipulation type stuff where you can do like filters and things like that. So I don't know, but yeah, always got to bring Logic back into the table. If nothing else, then to just get mic triggered,
just in case. I hear you, and you're totally right. It's the depths for exploration seem to be just that little bit less finite now, and to take that one step further, the notion of as independent musicians, there are times when our access to resources, i.e. raw video, is somewhat limited because of copyright and things like that. And if you want to play the game, if you want to play properly, you kind of have to avoid that stuff right now. Internet Archive is a great source. You have to be careful with what you pick, but obviously that's always a bit rocky. There are times when it's up, when it's down, it's not working, the server's slow. You got Pexels, which is, everyone can use Pexels and stuff like Shutterstock and things like that. Suddenly, with something like this that comes in, you've got stock video that suddenly could look unique and be organic to you as an artist and how you want to express it. And that's great, because that opens up so many doors. And so suddenly one piece of raw footage is turning into an infinite amount of possibilities in that regard, which, as you said, you don't have to learn another system. You don't have to learn Premiere Pro or DaVinci or anything like that. You can just go and do it everything within something that you already know and have an understanding of.
Yeah, as a new parent that has no time, I think the key thing here is, like, if you're short on time, instead of having to learn 2 different softwares, I mean, you have to learn the plugin and all that type of stuff, but it's already in something, so that kind of entry gate is open,
Exactly. So yeah, be curious if anyone either watching this live or watching back, have you played around with this yet? Is there anything you want to get from it? How do you incorporate, if so, how do you incorporate visuals into your DAW and your musical work? Be really curious. It's a not often considered part of what we do, so it's interesting when something like this comes along, just to throw it back out into the relative zeitgeist, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely.
Very much so. Anything else you want to say on that, Sunwarper?
No, I think it looks really cool.
There we go. Is it enough to bring you over to Ableton yet?
The sampler thing for my sample packs is enough to get me in there, but I don't know, man. I gotta use it first before I can comment, because it's just never, the workflow has just never clicked with me, and I don't really have time to learn another thing. So we'll see. But I do have to kind of use it out of necessity. So who knows?
Who knows? That's how it starts. That's how it gets you. That's how it starts.
I don't know, man. I'm someone that thinks you got to kind of use and learn everything, right? If then you can kind of make the most of each thing. Like, obviously have something you focus on, but I don't think it's good to kind of be like, this is the only thing I'm only ever going to use, because it's good to see what everything offers and use their advantages,
Oh, completely. Yeah. I keep saying it to my kids, like, we started the year with Ableton, right? And now we're using Ableton 12, and we're teaching and learning about how to use Ableton 12. A lot of these kids are coming from Logic and are coming from GarageBand, and they love it, right? Because they're good. They're very decent for what they do, and they're very attached to that DAW, and they're very attached to that to making with the process that they are. We forget that as producers, learning these different skills and learning how to input MIDI in 5 different ways on 5 different consoles, for example, it's really good for the brain, and it's a really good way of expanding your approach.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, but me personally, I make completely different music if I'm working on a DAWless desk with samplers than if I'm working in Logic. And then even more so if I'm working in Reason. It's like different genre preferences, different types of workflows, different presets that I use. Like, everything's different. So you can kind of I don't know if anybody else would, but if you listen to my music, you could probably, if you knew, having seen my YouTube and stuff, you'd probably know, that's a Logic track, that's a Reason track, that's an SP track, If it's really effed up, it's a SP track. If it's got a lot of vinyl stuff, it's an SP track.
And that's okay.
So actually, though, now with Dr. Vibe, though, Sketch Audio shout out, but Logic puts up quite a thing in the community challenge. We'll discuss that. But yeah,
I need to get one thing I need to get better at is Logic. I need to get better at Logic. I love it. It's a staple. Man. It is dope. It is a really good piece of software. It just, in similar fashion to you, right now the brain power is just not there. But it's a tried and tested method. It's built for engineers. It's built on the back of it, And so yeah, I hear you. We all have a comfort zone to step out of.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, let's move across, shall we? I'm gonna.
I pitched you a segue right there with the community challenge, but that's all right.
I got to keep talking today. Yes, we are coming towards the new community challenge, which Sunwarper set off yesterday, I believe. It was while I was asleep, so it would have been you yesterday.
Yep.
So
what is time, man? What is time?
What is time? So yeah, we have a new community challenge out in the Discord, which is flipped frequencies. Is that what you're calling it? Flipped frequencies. That's dope. I love the alliteration. I love it.
I went for alliteration, man, and I was like, basically what it is everybody's flipping the same sample. I made some samples using the session players in Logic, and I'm about to share my screen to show you that. But that we threw a vote, And we originally screwed up the vote because Curtis actually missed including this one in the vote. So we had to just throw that original vote out and use this vote. But we made it work. And this one won. It was pretty close, though. Corporate Jingle was the next one that was getting close. So Eon Lake didn't get his chosen or choice of preference, but that's okay. This one's going to be a lot of fun, though. So everybody's flipping the same sample. So that's the goal here, is that we're going to see how different everybody's talking about, how different approaches with different DAWs and stuff like that lead to different music. Let's see how different everybody's track ends up when you have the same source, right? Because I have a feeling tracks are going to be very different. And this is what I always talk about when I say we all have our own different perspectives. And when we're making music, even if we're taking all those influences in or something, or hear the same exact sounds, it's going to end up being completely different or very different. And you can always repitch and stuff too. So we might have completely different keys, tempos, all that type of stuff. But anyways, anything you want to add, Curtis, or do you want me to quickly just show the session? Because I didn't show the stuff I made. I just sent the stems, but I wanted it here to just share it really quickly while I have Warper up.
Yeah, bring it. You've got it there. Bring it. Show it while I make some notes, and then I'll come back to it.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. It might be a little low res, but that's just StreamYard for you. But so we have 4 things. I don't know if the sound's going to come through. Hold on a second. Let me see something. No, I don't know if the sound's going to come through actually, but it's so we have a main drum. Tell me, are you guys hearing? If I go here, do you guys hear anything? I don't, so I don't think we're hearing anything. Yeah, okay, so that's all right. If you want to check it out, head to the Discord to hear it. But we've got a main drum, a pad, a bass, and an FM bass. I'm partial to the FM bass, but if you'll notice, really quickly, let me see if I can zoom in here. So the session drummers are actually playing slightly different things. So it's in A flat minor, 112 BPM. I have the pad doing, I think it's like a 1/6, whatever in terms of the key. But then the bass I did a little bit differently. So the bass is a little bit different compared to it. So yeah, it's got this really interesting sound to it because of that. And I'm just really excited to see what everybody does. You don't have to use every sound used. You can even just use a granular sample of one little piece of the sample of the tracks and stuff like that. So yeah, Smiling Earth says getting the stems is nice. Perhaps put the original sample up as MP3. I can, but honestly, just put the stems in your DAW and you'll have what it is. So if you all want an MP3 of it, I'm happy to put it there. But I mean, it's easy to just throw it up there either way. But yeah, I can't unfortunately play it as it is. I was hoping to, but it's kind of weird using this whole thing. But yeah, the goal here is really, I don't know if you can pull up the Discord, but FCC put it really like the best when he was saying that he wants to do more of these short challenges where there's a quick turnaround time just for the fun of it. If you find it there, I think it's in that server discussion. You got it?
It is, yeah. I can't bring it up without violating the privacies of people's users names and stuff like that.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
We have it here. Yes, these quick little challenges get away from the pressure of your own music are a little joy. Need to do more of them and not take them too seriously or spend too much time on them. Quick and dirty and fun. That's what it is. That's a great summation.
Yeah, but that's the key word is fun. There's no pressure with these. We even, when we were discussing in the last listening party, some ideas for challenges, a couple competitive ones came up, and we were like, the goal here isn't competition. It isn't to compare ourselves with each other or rank ourselves over each other and stuff. It's all in the name of just community. That's our goal here with Audionautic, building community, having fun, and learning together. And so that's what it is. We come at the end of each month, we have a listening party right before Audionautic, the main podcast, on our Discord where we listen through, we give feedback, we ask questions to each other, like what's your takeaway from it? What did you learn in the process? We can all just kind of learn from it. So that's the goal here, just have fun. So there's no pressure to make like a finished track. If all you get is a 4-bar loop, if all you get is even just a flipped idea of some of these sounds or something, come hang out, post it in. We've got 2 channels now, the discussion channel, which is where we do all the discussion and any talk about submissions. Like if someone submits, go there. But we also have a submission channel where all you put there is just the submissions. This is so when we do the listening party, they're all right there so we can share it. It just keeps it tidier and less messy and stuff when we do it. But yeah, I'm super stoked with this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm curious to hear what everybody does with these. I made these, I think Smiling Airs was like, oh, it's very funky but drunk. And I was like, yeah, it's frunky. It's very frunky.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very frunky.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, because you got like some almost slap bass, you know, like disco-y bass. It's 112 BPM, 4 on the floor, but it's very, that's what I was going to mention. It's very kind of warped because I was using Dr. Vibe on every track to get that SP403 type of like compression and make everything real gritty.
Nice. Well, there we go. So to just add to that you can submit at any time throughout the month. You don't have to wait to the submission date. Just go across to our Discord, and it is in Discord server challenge submissions. Because like you said, like Sunwarper said, we do have a conversation. That's just to keep it clean for us when we're actually doing the listening party. And the listening party itself is at 6 p.m. UTC, and this month on the 25th of September, 1 hour before ADSN on the 25th. That's what it will be. Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Those listening parties are great. We always have a really good turnout. We just hang out, listen to the tunes, and see what everybody did. I mean, you can always listen because people are putting the submissions up, but it's nice to do it together. That's kind of always our goal. We come together here on this show to hang out and discuss music and stuff, but here we can actually listen to each other's tracks, offer feedback as a collective, and just kind of learn from each other. Completely. Yeah. We don't take it seriously, like we say. In this world where everything's a grind and it's all about purchases and streams and views and clicks, this is just about being playful, because it is playful and it's meant to be playful. So yeah, come and hang out with us. It'd be great. The Discord link is in the description below. And when I've stopped talking, I will paste the link also in the chat for anyone, and someone can do his thing. While you cease talking and do your action, I'll just say all of this type of stuff, these hangouts, these podcasts, the record label, all of that is thanks to our patrons and everybody who tunes into the show, but especially our patrons who support all of this every week, month in, month out. And we owe it to them. We can do this because of our patrons. So if you want to help support the channel, help us do more radio shows, help us do more listening parties, all that type of stuff, these sample challenges, run the Discord, do the podcast, head to patreon.com/Audionautic. You can also do a one-time donation, no membership, with our PayPal. It should be in the description, but Curtis did that. If not, we'll put it in. Yeah, it is. I get that thumbs up. Yeah, I should just assume at this point, it's not a knock on Curtis, but sometimes we copy from different episodes that are missing certain things. You know, it's busy. Let's put it. It's touch and go sometimes. Let's put it that way. But it's all thanks to our patrons. We love our patrons. They come on every week. You can also, if you join at the $5 tier, it starts at $2. You get exclusive Discord access and an extra podcast hangout that we do every month. But at the $5, you get to come on the show as well. And then I think it's at the $5 you get the early access to all of the record label releases. $7 you get sample packs. We've been doing some very interesting sample packs. So yeah, head to patreon.com/Audionautic if you want to help support the show. Thank you. Yeah, very much so. The big thing for patrons is coming on Monday. Keep an eye on the sister channel. Something coming your way, because next Wednesday is going to be a lot of fun. Something that we've been working very closely with for a long time, and it's exciting. So yeah, eyes on your feeds on Monday, basically. We'll say no more right now. But yes, thank you ever so much. Now we'll come across to the thing that everyone has been waiting for, and the reason why Sunwarper is suddenly going to be a bit truncated with his video. This is the caliber that we have here at Audionautic. We make these things work, and it looks amazing. And as you can see, there's a second phone. Why have you got a second phone there, brother? That's not a second phone. That is my phone, because that's my, continuity camera. So I can do this, and I need to mute. Hold on. I don't know. Now it seems like the sound got. I see. Hold on, guys. I want to quickly hear that white noise. I was like, what is that white noise? That is this. So here you go. Oh wow, that's so loud. Let's stop that for a second. So the sample's not that crushed. And now your ears might be. I apologize, but let's lower that volume right down. This is the sample for the community channel. 8 bars. So I think for me, my main focus is going to be that bass. Because that FM bass specifically is awesome. So that's the sample. There you go. Smiling Air. Sorry if I just completely
crushed everyone's ears with that loud thing. I did not realize it was set that loud. Anyways, yes, we have, let me just get out of Logic because we don't need it because I'm using the SP404 as an audio interface. There's a bonus tip for you. SP404 as an audio interface is super handy because all that's going through here is one USB cable. It's turned on. It's got power because of that, but it's also sending audio out and in. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with that. And Thomas says groovy. Yeah, that was the goal with that. So I'm curious to see, because I think some of you can make some really trippy like noise stuff out of it. So I want to see the kind of just wide, diverse span of genre that the sample flips are going to go with. I think Curtis is going to make something interesting.
It'll probably be wonky, knowing me.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Yeah, maybe we'll some death metal from it.
I haven't done that in a while. So
with the Aztec death whistle.
A bit of that
from Mantra, right?
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to see how it pans out. So yeah. We'll get to work with that. But we are here. We have a third screen, which is not Eon Lake this week. It is the SP404.
SP Lake.
SP Lake, because we are talking all about the SP404. Yes, for context, if you have just tuned in, we've got quite a lot of listeners this week. So hello, if you are new, welcome. This is our main event of the show. Earlier on Friday in this week, Sunwarper dropped Golden Hour, which is a little EP, beautiful EP, with a lot of the tracks, or exclusively the tracks, were made on the SP404. So we're going to chat about it. We're going to have a bit of an artist spotlight, and we're going to be talking about top tips for making beats with the SP404. If you have been hanging around here for a long time, you will know that Sunwarper has so much of a bromance with the SP404. It's his favorite little machine, unless I'm much mistaken.
No, you're right. Look into it. Desert Island hardware.
Exactly, right. And the man has got a ton of content on his YouTube channel talking all about the SP404. So we're going to be talking about it a little bit here. So, Sunwarper, anything before I start my questioning? Because this is going to be an interrogation to the nth degree.
I just want to give a little more context to the idea of the SP only EP. So yeah, everything was made. It's 2 tracks, but on the vinyl there's 4 tracks. But everything was made on the SP404 pretty much exclusively. But it was 2 very different workflows. So the first one is a beat, and so I used samples and flipped the samples, made the drums on top. This is that track. It's all made in the pattern sequencer. We'll go through it, and then the other track was an ambient idea that I made live in a live stream on my channel. And if I can find where it is, every sound was made with internal sounds on the SP404. No samples, because the latest firmware update 4.04 added a sound generator. But really, it just creates a waveform that sounds like crap until you throw effects through it. So one of the things we'll talk about is how to turn the synth or the waveform generator in the SP into a synthesizer with the built-in effects. But every sound that you hear in this is all from internal sounds on the SP404. Everything. And it's using multi-oscillators that I've merged together, all that type of stuff. So 2 very different workflows, but to create tracks within the SP. So if you're an ambient musician, it's not just a lo-fi beat device, and things like that. Curtis has to put on other headphones because he always has an issue with hearing a third audio source or something. I don't know what the deal is, but it's not his fault. It might be a Windows thing maybe or something. But anyways,
Windows thing.
That's a little context I just wanted to give. So 2 very different workflows. We'll kind of get into all of that, but we want to give 5 tips for using this to make beats with.
I get that.
So go ahead, Curtis, and start your questions unless you have something else you want to mention.
No, just that I really love the veracity and the tenacity that you do talk about the SP404. You can really hear the passion come through, and I love that.
I'm a fan, but I mean, I a lot of things can do stuff. Like any machine can do things, but find something that works for you. That's what I always say. So
that's the main.
This is just something that really clicks for me, but it is a strange workflow, as you'll see.
Well, that leads me nicely into my first question of the evening or morning, depending on where you are in the world. We are a global network. Let's face it. Why this? Why this sampler? And why a sampler in general?
Well, I don't know. For me, maybe this is like a hot take. I think a sampler is probably the ultimate instrument or form of an instrument. And that's as a guitarist, right? And all my keyboards and all that stuff. But I mean, maybe if you look at it in like a holistic approach or totality or something, you can send any sound into here and do any sampler and do so many things with it. Like, for example, the main sound from Golden Hour, this track, let me find that pad that you're hearing. So that actually was a session player in Logic that I just made some strings, sent the strings through USB-C into the SP, added a bunch of effects, and this was it. So that's the original sample source. What I then did was, with any sampler you can do this, I went to Shift, Start End, which is chop, and I took this and I just did auto mark so that it's going to chop it in a specific form so that it's going to become specific. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. Hold on, I got to see if there's a way. There's no way to like. Yeah, I can solo it. I was hoping to still show us, but anyways, you can set it by time division, which is what I did just for because I had the BPM when I recorded it in. But you can also do level, transient, and this is all things you can do even in a DAW. So some of these things we're going to talk about, it's useful to do it in anything that you're working with. But so from there, let's do that, and I'll show you. So now we have. And now there's some clicking, right, that you can hear, but that's okay. You can fix that later. But so anyways, once I did that, I then added more effects, changed the pitch of each chop. And that's the main sound. That's the main sound that we got for that track. And if I just go into... that's all it is. And then there's the drums and all that. So my point is it's an inspiration station to me. Like, it's so inspiring to just throw any sound through. If you've got writer's block, right? Do something like take the session players in Logic, or take a sample you get from Internet Archive, or just record your guitar into here, or synths. Take a song of yours and just chop it up, do pitch changes, get all that, and you'll find all these little happy accidents in that process that will lead to a sound you can then kind of use as the basis for your track.
Fantastic. When you say these happy accents come through, do you, just out of pure curiosity, out of anything, have you ever stumbled across a situation we can get it in a DAW where sometimes we bang our heads against the wall and just can't make anything sound good? Have you ever experienced that with the SP404?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to experience that at any time, but typically what I then do is like make a granular slice of it or something and use chromatic mode to turn it into like, okay, let's take this first sound, right? Like, let's say that part wasn't working. Just see what would happen if you do like, maybe that's the new thing.
Different song.
Yeah, and that's just, so that's one chord that's now being repitched across the keyboard. So you could just see, maybe you can get something there. I mean, when you do that with chords, you have to think you're not going to be in a key because you're going to be borrowing chords from other keys. If you're in like, you've got a C major, when you do things, it's going to go out of key depending. But sometimes that sounds really cool. A lot of my songs don't really have a key because I bounce between or borrow chords from other things. But this is a way to do that quickly. But yeah, if I get stuck, and you can do that in a sampler too on a DAW. Just take a chord and put that as the sound that you're sampling, stretch it across the keyboard, and there you go. It's just kind of like, I just like the tactile response of having the hardware, but it works with the DAW too.
Oh, fair play. So that's the sample side of it, but you've been quite a vocal proponent for the sound generator. Tell us what that is and how that is different from a synthesizer, but also has its own benefits, so to speak.
Yeah, so I'm going to move to a different project because this isn't a song that's on the EP. I could show the ambient one, but we'll go back to that because I want to show really quickly if I can find the track. I think it's this one. It's not that one, but that is sound generator as well. Okay, hear the piano in this, or lead, the arpeggio. That's all a sound from just this little sample that I made. So the way it worked was I took 4 samples from Sound Generator. So when you go into Sound Generator, first I'm going to lower it because Sound Generator is really loud, very loud. But here we have a sine wave that's pretty low frequency, but I'll just show you. Let's go to a saw, and I'm going to take off the effects because you're going to hear when you're just using Sound Generator, it's creating just a raw waveform as if you had a synth with the filter completely open.
Oh, yeah.
That it's not the most pleasant of sounds, right? And there is some functionality in Sound Generator. You can do different keys and things like that, up the octaves, lower the octaves, all that type of stuff. But where the power comes in is also using this other function called merge sample. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, let's find an empty bank, or at least somewhat empty, and so it's G. So we're going to put this one on 3, and I'm going to just hit that, and then let's go over back to Sound Generator, and let's change the waveform to cosine, and let's put that one on 4. So now we've got 2 raw waveforms, nothing sounding amazing, but we can do a couple other things to make even more interesting synth sound. I'm going to copy this one. Let's copy the saw, and then I'm going to go in and actually change the fine tuning of the second one just a little bit. So we're taking these 2 oscillators now. Hear how much thicker it got? So then what we'll do is shift resample. No, wait, I think it's shift. Totally blanking on the, there we go. Shift resample. It just is weird with my button sometimes. What this is doing, this is merge sample. So I'm going to put all 3 of these together, and I can control the volume of them if I wanted to put them at different, like, oh, this one only 50%. One drawback is you can't hear what the final output's going to be until you actually export it. You can't like preview it, which is kind of a bummer. But anyways, we're going to do that, and I'm going to just hit enter and then put this one on an empty pad. And then now we've got that sound of all 4 of these together. But what I want to do there is it's still a raw waveform. So now this is where the synthesizing aspect comes into play. All of the effects that we have 4 bus effects. So we can add things in the kind of master effects, bus 3 and 4, but also in 1 and 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is put on a filter. You can already hear that's now much more controlled and tamed. Then I'm going to go into the super filter and add an LFO. And we're going to do a slow LFO with just a little depth, because all I want here, this is really just synth sound design in general on any synth. I just want the filter to move a little bit. So it's as if I was manually doing it, but since I'm going to record it, I can't do that because it's going to just record it. But hear how it opens. Let's up that resonance so you really hear it. Hear that movement? That wow. That's that LFO. Now we could up the LFO, of course. And now it's really changing. But since we're going to make this like a synth, I don't want to have a ton. I just want a little movement. And then let's put on, let's say, okay, what do we want to do, chat? Do we want to make this really destroyed, or do we want to make this more lush? Curtis, what's your take?
I would like to see it be destroyed, personally.
Okay, all right. So we can do either lo-fi or bit crusher. What do you want to do?
Crush it. Crush
it. Okay, you want to go crusher. Okay. So now we're getting a crusher. Let's change it around a little bit, though. I'm only going to put a little bit of it. And then we're going to go into those 3 and 4 effects. And we're going to really wobble it up. Let's get the noise off. We don't need that. Let's up that. So now this is as if I had an LFO on the pitch. The spinal sim gives it that warble. Let's put it all the way up. You can really hear it. I'm going to drop it a little bit, though, because what I'm going to do is on bus 4, instead of compressor, I'm going to do cassette sim. And we're going to add a little age, more drive, and a little more wow and flutter. Okay, hear that? Let's put that one now in to just a pad. Now, I haven't updated to 4.05, so I do have this resample glitch. Sometimes when I resample into it, it just restarts the whole SP. So if you see the screen just like die, that's why. But hopefully we won't hit that. We'll see. I'm also going to just, before we do that, I'm going to up the crusher a little bit more. Because I know you want some of that crunch, right, Curtis? So let's do that. Okay, now we're going to resample. Put that here. There we go. Okay. Now we're just going to check in the sample that, yep, you can see there's a little silence at the start. So let's take that out. And then, so this is what we made. This was our original start sound. Now, while we play it live, I'm going to add some Kodama, which is a resonant delay. It's one of my favorites. I use it for like everything. And then we'll add some reverb, and then we are going to take off bus 3 and 4 because we don't need extra 404 and cassette sim. So that's our sound. Now we'll hit remain a couple times in chromatic mode, and we can do some chords.
Very nice.
There we go.
That's beautiful. Straight, all from the SP404. You haven't even looked at any computer screen at this point.
No.
Nice. Well, there you go.
And you could mess with the effects. You could maybe even add another filter or something. Anything. I mean, it's kind of like the sky's the limit on that.
And so you can resample that in its own right, and then keep going in perpetuity, essentially.
We're about to talk about the looper, right? We can loop that.
Well, this is a good time
I forget the order we're doing things and stuff. So if there's anything else in discussion regarding Sound Generator, go ahead. I did make that whole second track, Celestial Currents, using just sounds from Sound Generator. So the bass was doing that, the lead, everything. I can go back to share that song if you want to hear it, but it's what I played. You couldn't hear because he didn't have the headphone in, but that's what I previewed. But I thought it would be best to show just like how to start from nothing and turn it into a lush little synth, which we did crush a bit.
I mean, crushing is always good. Go back to the track just so you can see the versatility.
Let me go back to pattern 12 or project 12, and then I think it's this one. So this is the main pad from the track. Sound Generator. I think it's 4 oscillators that I merged together, and then it's 8 bars. So I'm going to stop it. Here we get the bass. Here the low end. Hopefully, I know it's across the internet. And then if I can, I'm going to stop it for a second because if I can find the lead, I'll play it live. I just need to find where it is. You can see what's being triggered by the pattern here. Okay, it's 6. Okay, cool. So this is the lead I made in Sound Generator. So let's play that pattern again. And let's do that one. I'm gonna trigger 6 without making the sound by holding the value now, hitting 6. Chromatic mode is shift 4. And then let's up that Audionautic a bit. Now I'm getting this latency vectoring it from there, so it's going to be a little off, but that's the sound of this little lead in chromatic mode over it.
In dreamy as hell, that is what that is. It's dreamy as hell.
Yeah, and I'm still using that Kodama and then the SX reverb. So, yeah. And then if you want to hear, I call it a piano sound in my last live stream. It's not quite. I was going for like an FM piano type of sound, but where is it? This little pick up the SX reverb. That lead or arpeggio is 4 oscillators in Sound Generator. I think 2 cosine and 2. I want to say soft, but I made it in the live stream. I have all these synth recipes in my SP404 cheat sheet where all of these that I'm showing are made there, except that one I just did live because that I completely ad-libbed this Big Crush guy. So that's all Audionautic special. But yeah, that's the.
I am just.
And then I forgot to mention just really quickly. We can go into the. It's not ADSR. It's attack, hold, and release. But we can go in and we can actually change. I need to truncate this sound a little bit though. As you can see, there's a lot of silence at the end. So let's just take out that. And then what we can do is we can create a little bit more release so that when we let go of each note, it's going to keep going a little bit. And we can change the hold to where it is. We can also add attack to make it more like a pad. So let's put a little attack and a little release. And then now what we're going to get, if I get out of that sound, it keeps ringing out.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you've built the basis of a track using you may have used samples, you may have used the Sound Generator and stuff like that. But as you teased, it really comes into its own when you start live looping, which is a new update and part of the new firmware update. Relatively
live
new
looping,
recently.
or even just pattern sequencing, which has been there since day one, or TR-Rec mode, which was, I think, in the 3.0 update. But yeah, so the live looper, you just have to change what mark is. Mark normally records the last 40 seconds of sound you make in the SP, and you can chop it up and loop it. But if you change it to the live looper, it becomes a live looper. Now, I don't have the I have it set so the headphones only have the click track, so we're gonna have to change that. If we go into click, I think it's output assign is the one, so we're gonna shut that. But that is a nice thing if you're recording live looping videos, you can have it so only the headphones have the click track. So you'll have a click track, but everybody listening or when you record it won't have a click track. But let's go back into the looper. And for some reason, I'm still not getting it. I don't think I'm going to be able to loop this live because there's way too much latency. So it's going to be wonky. But you could live loop, and then what you could do, well, we could just do, I guess, a free one. Let me just do this to show you. I won't be able to add parts to it because it's going to get chaos. But I have it set to record wait, so it won't make sounds until I turn on the whatever, like, you know, it hits a threshold of sound. So I'm going to trigger this. And let's just do those chords. They have not been recorded on. Yeah, it's recorded. So let's stop that.
And then, in theory,
and then you can just hit resample and you can overdub on top of it. So I could add drums. That's going to be funny. I mean, it actually worked.
That's pretty cool.
Wow, that actually worked. And I think you could. I think you can change. You might be able to change the measure to 1. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's a bit off, but you can change the measures there. And then let me undo that last drum. Oh, it undid everything. Okay, one thing I want to show. When Thomas said keep that, awesome, I deleted it. Sorry, Thomas. It's gone to the ether. I guess I could do see this. I was gonna say I could record the drums first, but there's just so much latency because all the sound is coming into the laptop here. I'm hearing everything through this computer, the one you're seeing, through the internet. So there's like a ton of latency. So it's not gonna work well if I do that. But let me do one last thing. Let's just set because I just want to record quickly one more thing. Let's delete that. Let's do 1 bar. And let's just do, let's say, 95 BPM. The drums were, yeah. Sorry, Thomas. It was way off. There's no way to isolate an overdub. You can only isolate the original one. But anyways, let me just quickly record arm this and find wherever that sound was. I think, yeah, that's going to record it. But I've got it triggered now, so we can turn on the looper. Again, I looped it. Here we go. Okay, so I'm record wait. Let's get into chromatic mode. Make sure our effects are on. And then we're just going to record real quick. That's not going to work. We'll have to slow it down. Let me slow it down. I can't hear a click or anything, so we're just going to stumble through this. But let's put on 2 bars. And let's just turn this on. So now we recorded something. I want to show it the last little trick I've done.
Love that.
The chompy method. And we can still, if we change the bus routing of the live looper, we can put it to bus 2, and then we can add even more effects to it. Exact things. And then what I really like about this looper is that every step, like every overdub, can be a different set of effects because it's baking the effects into the loop. So you can just kind of like just do, like if you're doing just the kick, you can control the kick with 4 effects. Then you could add the hi-hat, maybe add a crusher or a ring mod, and then you could, when you're doing the pad, add Kodama, this and that. You get a lot of control in the looper.
So there's flexibility in the sampling, and then you have the joy and the limitation of once it's in, it's baked, it's in there. And you can't
yeah, but check this out. So let's say you really like, if you really like what we just made, you can copy it to a pad. Now it's baked in there. with I think it's got some. Then I could throw that into like a pattern and start building with more control and quantize so that, you know, the drums won't be wonky and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there's a lot of fun to be had. You're building the sounds from scratch. You're sampling sounds. You're looping sounds to build scratches from where they go in there, or full songs in their own right. One of the big things that you're up that you've always been raving about is the bus effects and the sound effects for the synthesis and the sound design. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, we already kind of went over it, at least in terms of when you're doing the sound design on tracks and things like that. But you get these effects that you can control. You get 4 buses, but if you have something coming into the SP as a external instrument, you get a 5th bus effects, the external or input effects. So you can route things to have ways you can kind of control everything. So typically, if you see the red for me is bus 1, the blue is bus 2. White means there's nothing, like it won't be triggered by any bus effects, not even 3 and 4. And then everything gets sent into bus 3 and 4. But you can change it where bus 1 gets sent independently and bus 2 gets sent independently. So you could do effects on, let's say bus 2 is your drums. You can do effects on the drums that won't affect your main sample. So you could do dropouts live and things like that. But I like to do it running into each other so that every sound from bus 1 gets 4 different effects. But whatever I set, let's say, so my melodies are bus 1, I can do reverb or kodama. Bus 2, I can do all the performative effects, like the, you know, everybody knows the DJ looper, but we'll throw that on real quick. We're actually on bus 1 though, so you can hear that I was only controlling the melodic sounds. But if we put
Nice.
so yeah, you can do like live effect, quick ones. It's a lot better when you can actually hear what you're doing, because I have this latency. But if you go to my channel, you'll see, like I just posted a live performance. You'll see all the effects you can do on there. But so yeah, there's kind of 2 approaches to it. There's the sound design with all these effects, because you can use those 4 bus effects to do what we did for that sound generator, where we can control the sound, turn it into a synthesizer. But like that sample for Golden Hour, those strings I showed you, that's all just throwing it through multiple rounds of all these effects to get that really warped string sound that I then chopped and stuff. But then you can do the live performance. So I think of bus 1 as my like melodic stuff. So it's usually delay or reverb. Bus 2 is going to be my performative sounds. And then bus 3 and 4 is what I like to think of as the master. So I have cassette sim, which adds a little grit, wow, and flutter. And then the compressor, which, while it looks weird having everything set to 0, I don't know if you can see if we zoom in here, but if you can see everything set to 0, that's actually like the most compression it does. And when we had Sketch Audio on to talk about the Doctor Vibe, he was talking the SP404 compressor has a really interesting way of working. And it's very similar with this one, where it doesn't just kind of compress sounds. It does a lot of really interesting sounds. I can show, let me find that one track. Let's go back to Golden Hour, and I'll play you kind of with the sounds on. Let me just get, because I need Kodama for the melodies. If we go to quarter. All right, so real quick, kind of when everything's playing. Bus 3 and 4 are on. That's about it. It's obviously quieter, but it is adding a lot. Let's go 404 and cassette. Everything's getting warmed up. This is the lo-fi. Here it trips it up. Here's my master. Hear how much louder it's got? Everything gets
I get it.
Everything gets kind of like glued together, more than just like, oh, the quiet parts are getting louder, the louder parts are getting quiet. There's like a lot more to it than that.
Basically what you're doing in that regard is, again, to finish the process, is you're mastering it essentially on the way. I know you probably take it out and then we'll go and master it yourself, but in theory,
well, I add sound. I master on top of the bus 3 and 4.
Yeah, so like you can do that, as in you have those master bus effects coming through. Yeah. And within this tiny little box, again, you don't need nothing else. You don't need anything else going for you. You've done everything in that box.
Yeah, the other cool thing too, going off of kind of the tips we've discussed already, but it is an audio interface. So you can have this set to send sounds in, but you could, using this USB-C, you can have this be your audio interface for your DAW, and you can send sounds in, color it, and send it back. Like I've done masters of DAW tracks where I send it through here for the bus 3 and 4 to get that cassette sim and compression, add a little like hardware effects, and then send that sound back into the DAW and then master it from there. So you can kind of use it as like a hardware compressor or hardware distortion or any of that. You can use it on individual tracks. You can use it like I did for the master track, like the stereo 2 track. There's a lot there.
So would you use that in everything that you do, or would it only be in certain tracks that you kind of vibe for?
It really just depends what the vibe is. If I feel like it needs kind of that hardware sound, or if I want to add live effects on top of the track, you know, like maybe I want these big reverbs that I don't find when I automate them, it's not working. I want to just play it, you know, and hit it and do it right live. I can do it that way.
Fair play to you. Now, before I ask another question, if there's anyone in the chat, because we have about a 30-second delay. If there's anyone in the chat who wants to ask Sunwarper any questions about what we're doing here, what he's playing around with, now's the time to put it in the chat, and we'll read them off before we go towards the end of the show. But Sunwarper, you've been on this journey for what, 2 years now ish, basically. I think.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years with the SP. Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially since you moved into the shed, essentially,
yeah.
And
the studio shed.
The studio shed, yeah, MIDI Mountain, essentially.
Yeah, MIDI Mountain.
My question, I suppose, in that regard is, what is it about making beats and making stuff on the SP404 which has enthralled you and continues to enthrall you? It's 2 years down the line. This is pretty consistent in terms of what your workflow is and how you enjoy it, and you seem to bring new stuff to the table every time you work. What is it about the SP404 that speaks to you so much?
I think it just clicks. It's a clunky workflow, right? Like we just went through how many steps you have to go through to make a raw waveform sound like a synth. But I can do it quickly, and then you get all of the tactile response with the effects. Like Golden Hour actually was done, I performed it as a DAW-less jam, just recording the sound of playing these patterns and doing live effects. So transitions and stuff like that are triggering the pattern, you know, going from this one to this one. And then I have a lot of parts where like in the tracks, if you go to TRF mode, I drop out the drums. That's my transition, right? And so while it's doing that, I can have that play, and then I can add in, good to get to it, but I can add some effects live. And so I can do that live, and I recorded all that in. And then as a stereo 2 track, I was able to chop parts because I synced the BPMs, and I stem split it, and I was able to change mix stuff and things like that. But I could do all of those live sounds that automating just isn't going to capture, right? There's going to be subtle nuances and intricacies of playing something live, like triggering this reverb at that time. It's not set to the automation lane, right? It's not on the grid. It's a little off. Maybe that reverb adds something, but I can control it live rather than just like, okay, let me program that in. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I do it all the time, programming these things in on a DAW, but there's something about just doing it live, the tactile nature, and then being able to just kind of get in the flow of the track rather than seeing blocks on a screen. You can just be like, okay, I want this to be playing now. Yeah, let's let that transition go for the next one. And then no, instead of going to the chorus, let's go to this part. And then let's move to that. You can like just kind of feel it rather than just, you know, copy and paste or something. And I guess Ableton would be similar with the what's the window I always forget? Is it session window? You know, the looping window. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I'm not hating on DAWs. I use DAWs all the time. I'm just saying it's like that hardware response to it. And then just being able to I could just put in headphones and plug this into a wall or use batteries, and it's completely self-sustaining. You know, it's self-sufficient. I can make the sounds. I can sample sounds in, all that. So I like its portability. I like its single function nature. Like it is a music making device. It's not a computer. I can't go on the internet and like distract myself. It's like I'm making music when I'm on this. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of reasons, but it clicks for me. And you have to find what works for you. It's not always going to be like, this is a weird workflow. The Digitact has a complicated workflow too, but like if it clicks with you, there's a lot you can do because it's so complicated.
I get that. And it makes a lot of sense, makes total sense in that regard. And as Thomas says, he's very impressed by your SP404
well, thank
skills.
you. Yeah.
And it's a testament, I suppose, to the contrast, I suppose you could say, to what we said at the beginning of the show, where we're talking about exploring different DAWs and exploring different ideas, which is totally space for. There's totally space for, but there's also something to be said about picking a piece of gear and learning the workflow and getting all up in it and understanding it. It seems like you know it back to front, and you could know it wherever you are, like you say, on your desert island in the dark, where there's probably not much light.
Well, it lights up like at least.
Yeah, maybe, but you
it illuminates itself.
Exactly. So there is that, but yeah, it's a testament to 2 years of being dedicated to a piece of hardware, which it really does show, and the enthusiasm and the quality and what you're bringing through really does come out in that regard. So thank you for bringing this to the table for us today.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, and I think to your point, I want to stress, like, I think it's good to have one kind of piece of gear of choice that's like your main thing, but it is good to then from there explore. Like, because the SP has this audio over USB, I can use it in all these different types with the computer, with the DAW, like with whichever DAW I'm using, or I can set it at the end of this MIDI mountain, and it can control all the like I send all the sounds into there, and then I can add additional sequences on top of it. So it's find something that works, and then you can use that in expansion mode, trying it with different DAWs, with different things. Like I was saying, I'll send DAW tracks just as a stereo 2-track into here to be a hardware compressor, but I'll also do it like with Golden Hour, where I made the sample in Logic. Like, I could have performed a part, but I did a session player using Logic. That's something new with Logic. Sent that in and then built a track from there in the SP. So there's like, if you have a piece of gear, back and front, then you can explore everything else, but still have this kind of comfortable zone that, like, when things get crazy, you're like, okay, well, I know if I just send everything into this, I'm good, or if I just use the sampler in Logic or the sampler in Ableton, I'm good, but you can explore everything else from there. It's like that fallback. Got that fallback.
Got that fallback. I get that. And I suppose it's a testament again to what Still Ed is saying. You are using it as a music machine and a music making device, where you are reliant on your ears and your senses and your music making skills, as opposed to anything visually coming through, which ironically in this day and age is more of a minority than it is anything else.
Yeah, for me, it's just that, like, getting into the flow. That's why I like DAWless, because you're looking at screens, you're looking at blinking lights and stuff, but the way you trigger things and stuff, it's very tactile, it's very connected to the piece of gear, rather than just programming things, hitting play, seeing how it's working, and all that. Like, it's happening in real time. And again, you can do that type of stuff with the DAW, but there's just something about that, like, twist the knob, things are changing. You have all these 1/4-inch things doing ADC to DAC conversions and stuff like that. There's just something special there with hardware that, if you are fortunate to get some or something, it's fun to explore.
Yeah, completely. Is there anything else that you would like to say on this notion before we move on for now?
Yeah, really quick. There's a lot of things in a DAW that you can get that can do the stuff we talked about. So if you want to experiment with sampling, your DAW most likely has a sampler. Logic has the Logic sampler, and I think the Quick sampler. Ableton has simpler and sampler. FL, I'm sure, has at least one. There's the TAL sampler that FCC, one of our label mates, always uses. Somebody mentioned one that's free. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a free sampler that works in like every DAW. When I find it, that's it. Decent sampler. So yeah, you can do all that sampling stuff there. And if you have any like DAW synths, you can do the waveforms in that and use those same properties of filter with LFO on the cutoff, all that type of stuff. And then if you're looking for that 404 vinyl sim type of stuff, Bit Crusher and LFO on pitch can get some of it. You can check out plugins like Arturia Mellowfi, which we always talk about, Sketch Audio's Dr. Vibe, which is in the sample challenge and stuff like that. All that. And Survey Channel says, got a split. Great show, fellas. No worries, Survey Channel. Thanks for hopping on. We're wrapping up too. But yeah, I just wanted to mention there's cheaper things you can get for a DAW if you want to experience some of those SP type of sounds. But I mean, you're not going to get that tactile stuff, but any hardware would do that. Or getting MIDI controllers that you sync could even do some of that.
I get you. And I mean, if there was ever a reason for Roland to come to you and say, "Hey, let us endorse you," this would be this show, because obviously that's where we need to be going with this. Absolute fanboy, and bring it down.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I do cover the SP a lot on my channel. It's just at Sunwarper on YouTube, but I also cover all the gear, make a lot of beats, tutorials, all that type of stuff. So if you are new to Audionautic, first of all, welcome. But if you do want to see more of sampler-based type of stuff and incorporating it with the DAW, workflows, all that type of stuff, there's my channel. Yeah, we've got it right here. But yeah, you can head there. Yeah,
and just to branch off of that as well, there are many people within the Discord community who do use the SP404. If listening back, there is something that sprung to your mind and you have a question, and obviously you can't put it in the chat because we won't be there anymore, but head over to our Discord. I've put the link there as well for you once again, and you can see it in our description as well. Come join the community, and if you've got questions about the SP404, sampling, production in general, it's a great place to come and try that and learn something new and to be part of a wonderful, weird community.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun over there, and these challenges have been really amazing, doing these sample flip challenges. So I can't wait to hear what everybody does with those samples. It's going to be so interesting to see.
Exactly. Is it something that you're going to be working on this week before we meet again?
No, so this week on my channel, I've got a pattern sequencer breakdown, how I did my last live set. Because typically with live sets on the SP, I do like one shots or chop sounds and stuff. But this time I did all pattern sequences so I could get in that flow with each track and make it sound different from recordings, but also I could do chromatic mode on top. So more performative. So that's out, explaining how I did that. And then the next weekend, I think that's still before the listening party, that's when I intend to flip it. And it's not going to be on the SP. I'm going to throw a vote up. Every live stream I do votes, and it's going to, I'm thinking the Pocket Operator, the PO33, Koala Sampler, or the Digitact. Flip it on one of those. Or maybe even Logic for iPad. Those might be the 4.
That could be fun. That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. So what will you be doing this week, sir?
Trying to catch up on sleep, figuring out all this merchandise stuff with those issues we're having, and then yeah, lots of label stuff that we have to do, getting this thing out to people. And I do want to say massive thanks to everybody who listened, bought it. It is available on vinyl if you do want to get it. I know international shipping prices are crazy. We unfortunately have to ship it to me to then ship it internationally because our supplier doesn't ship internationally anymore, but it is there if you want to check it out. I tried to keep it as cost effective as possible. But yeah, so that's there. It's really exciting having vinyl though. Like it looked really, I was impressed with the art that you made and how it came out. But yeah, the vinyl's up, so you can check it out. And yeah, it's just meant a lot. Everybody's been sending messages about the tracks and stuff. And yeah, there it is playing. So there's my cassette 4-track too. I got to start using that. I sent some of this through that as like a little distorted thing. But yeah, yeah. So it means a lot to hear from everybody that, you know, it's resonating with them and stuff. Because it's a new workflow to do to try and work quicker because I don't have a lot of time. So I can take these short creative bursts, do something with the SP, and then, you know, go from there and not overthink it in the DAW. So yeah, it means a lot. But yeah, so just managing the release and the next release that's coming on the label, that's the next focus or big focus too.
Completely and utterly, it's going to be an exciting week over at Audionautic Records. Once again, patrons, check your feeds on Monday, and everyone else on Wednesday. We've got something lovely coming through. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
completely.
And what are you up to this week?
I am still in overdub sessions. The new album is coming along, and the last 2 weeks I have had a decent amount of time just to really kind of crank it out. I've been quite fortunate. Every single one of us in the community at some point is talking about how we don't have enough time to make music. I've been very fortunate in the evenings recently where I have been able to sit down for an hour, maybe 2 at night, and really get to grips and push the album from just a bunch of loops into structure. And now I'm writing the overdubs essentially. The wonderful thing about this is that this has become live section, right, including the monologue as well, and the guitar. So I've got these basic loops. So I've got the loops that I built when I was scratching everything together, and now the idea is that will become part of the song, and then the overdubs will be played live and stuff like that. So it's exciting. It's going to be an album which can be replicated live with Ableton in that regard.
Awesome.
So I'm all up in that. I'm excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, that's exciting. Well, chat, we appreciate you hanging out. And again, as Curtis said, if you have any questions regarding the SP, head to the Discord, anything like that. We can talk about that. Thomas says, sleep is healthy. I highly recommend sleep. Tell my son that. And, maybe then I could get some sleep. That'd be nice. But yeah, anyways, awesome hanging out with you all. Great to see you all. We'll see you in the Discord. And I think we've got Starstream coming up. Or did we just do Star? I don't even know the date. Starstream's.
We've got on the 15th, we've got our next Beyond Genre. And on the 22nd of this month.
No, the 14th, right? We've got Beyond Genre.
Sorry, yes, we did shift it. I didn't make that change in the calendar.
Yeah, we had to move Beyond Genre. Instead of Sunday, it's going to be Saturday, the 14th. Just for this one at 11 a.m. So if you've got tracks you want to send to us, send them on the Discord or audionauticsounds@gmail.com. Those are the best ways to reach us. MP3, and if it's over 5 minutes, just know we're going to fade it out after 5 minutes. But we're happy to take over 5 minutes. But yeah, this is our radio show, community radio, meant to go beyond kind of the conventional genres that, if you don't fit that mold, you don't get on playlists and stuff. That's our goal here.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have a pocket. We just enjoy good music, essentially, and that's where we're coming from. So yeah, we will be back next week. Do you need me to push the video this week, Sunwarper?
No, I've got it. I'm good. All right. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.